Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here with yet another what? We are going to do a segment for you guys. We want to engage with you. We want to answer your questions. We want to be in conversation. So here we go. Conversations, FAQs with a witch and a shaman. Jenny C. Bell, introduce yourself.
Hey witches, I'm Jenny C. Bell. I am an author of Spirit Crystals and of Divergent Witchcraft. Third book coming soon, so it'll be announced here first, so keep staying tuned. I am also the host of a place called Our Coven Community, and that's actually where all of our questions have come from. They are community questions, so I'm very excited for us to answer those. Granddaughter Crow, please introduce yourself to everybody.
Oh, so yeah, it's A. They call me Granddaughter Crow. I am born to the Bilagana clan. For the Taachini clan, I am a member of the Navajo Nation as well as Dutch heritage. I am here to inspire, to encourage, and to empower you to be your authenticity. Of course, you see, I have the podcast, right? I also have books. Check me out, www.granddaughtercrow.com. Now, on to the show. So, Jenny C. Bell, what are the questions that we have? Read us one.
Okay, so this one comes from Our Coven Community, and it says, can you share more about channeling, your experience, and how it works?
Ah, such a beautiful question because it's specific, but yet it's broad. Because channeling could be interpreted as, where you get an intuitive thought.
Mhm.
And all the way, almost like a spectrum, some will use channeling as actually stepping completely out and allowing another entity or deity to come through you. So I
Right.
I see it as a very broad question because of the word. So when we think about the word channeling, there is a spectrum. What I want to do first is kind of describe the spectrum as I see it when I am in a read in a session, sometimes I'm interpreting the cards. And then all of a sudden, I've noticed over the years that when I start going like this, we want you to understand that this and this and this, we want you. When I start referring to myself as we,
Right.
I don't even notice it, but it gently comes through almost like a thought, but there'll be words that I utilize that I don't normally use,
Yeah.
and maybe sometimes don't even know what the meaning is, and then comes through, and then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And then when I'm in ritual space, there are times when I totally move out, something else comes through. So that's the first thing I want to say about channeling is that there is a wide range and different people have different interpretations and explanations for what that looks like. So where should we land with that? What do you think?
Well, let me expand on that. So, I want to say that channeling is beyond divination and spirituality.
Mm.
Because if you listen to Rick Rubin, very famous music producer, he talks about channeling. You listen to several authors, they'll talk about channeling. Tori Amos, in both her memoirs, she's a famous musician, talks about channeling. So channeling is like what other people refer to as inspiration. People refer to it as the muses. People refer to it as intuitive hit. Like it is such a spectrum. And I think when someone's really in a creative state or flow, they are channeling. Like if anybody is like listening or watching has ever been to a really good concert, and then it just seems like the musicians are on another planet, in another world, you feel one. It's just like almost a spiritual experience. I believe that those musicians are channeling. And I think in the movie Sinners, they really show that. There's a scene in the movie Sinners where Sammy is this character and he's playing blues and it gets so good that his ancestors of the past, present, and future all show up and start dancing. And so you see like future musicians and past, and it just shows that this channeling of creativity. So I think channeling is huge, and I think everybody can do it. And I think people do it and they don't always call it that.
I 100% agree. And it's kind of like when that which is outside of you as the origin of self comes through you. And I also think of it because sometimes I'm like channeling like the English channel. Like, is
Right.
it a gate where,
Yeah.
the metaphor of, okay, I'm going to close my door. I'm not going to allow anything to come through. And then you get to decide when it opens up. And, or, I'm Gen X. Um, is it when you click the channel to tune into KJOY?
Yeah.
you know and you align with like a radio station. So for me, I would almost respond to the question with another question and kind of ask people to visualize what do they see or conceptualize what do they think of when they ask the word channel. Is it this doorway or is it tuning in? And not there's no wrong answer. It's how you're understanding it at the time, and then you are able to dial it in and hone that instrument because you have that visualization and or conception or concept in your mind. Make a concept and define what it is individually that you as a listener think is channeling, and then play with that. Because I also want to say, with channeling, you also have to have healthy boundaries.
Yes.
You get to say no.
Mhm.
Not everything gets to come through you. And if you drink certain libations or take part in certain edibles or pipes, you are automatically going to be channeling easier to a certain degree. I'm not saying do that and don't do that. I am just saying that if you're going to go to a Christmas party and you're trying not to be psychic because, whatever's, and you start partaking of the champagne or a little glass of wine, you better start kind of, okay, I need to do my protection because you don't want to start channeling. What do you think about that? And I totally forgot the question, so you're going to have to repeat it again after you respond to what I said. What do you think about that, Jenny?
It always comes back to spiritual protection for me. Like, you know me, and I talk about it. It's the hill I'll die on. That everybody should be doing it, whether you consider yourself psychic or gifted or any of that. It's always comes back to that. And yeah, any kind of inebriation lowers the boundary automatically. And you can suddenly be channeling and talking to, people's ghosts and whatever when you didn't mean to. So yes, always, always spiritual protection. So the question was to get us back on track.
Yes.
Can you share more about channeling, which I think we just did?
Good.
Your experience, we didn't touch on that, and how we think it works.
Oh, I
So
kind of,
experience, maybe do experience first.
yeah. Kind of, I alluded to it a little bit when I was like, when I'm in a session, some of my signals are, we want you to know that it's okay. We want you guys check it out. Listen to yourself when you started. I didn't know that until somebody recorded me because they wanted to record the session, and they're like, "This is when I knew you were doing that." And I was like, "We?" I'm like, "Who is we?" I'm just like, but so it happens. I also have experienced being sanctifying myself. You heard that right. Sanctifying myself and dedicating myself to specifically be a channel at, like, for example, Samhain.
Mm,
I went ahead and put cloaking on, and I didn't look at the person, and I allowed a certain individual, a certain entity, a certain deity not to be open to all. And I stepped outside of myself and allowed it to work with my body to be able to do that. And when that happens, there's a couple of notes that I will say. One, you need to be okay with not knowing what you just said.
Hmm.
You need to be okay with not understanding how much time just went. So you need to have all of those securities in place, and you need protein and water afterward. A good nap, because protein will bring you back into your body, feed your body so that you can re-enter, and then always allot time for afterward to reintegrate yourself. So it's kind of like I am a vessel at that
Yeah.
point, and the spirit comes through and then it leaves, and you could feel it. You don't always feel it as much when it comes through, but I feel it when it departs. Because then I'm like, oh, hello, what time is it? I start thinking in my, forefrontal lobe. And so that's a little bit about my experience. However, that's only on special occasions. I don't
Yeah.
walk around and do that because a
We are
lot.
talking to Granddaughter Crow right now.
We are talking to Granddaughter Crow, and I kind of was raised to kind of do kind of this weird stuff. But it really, really, really is interesting because I would say that how to do it would be set sacred space,
Yes.
set boundaries,
Yes.
declare who you are going to allow in you.
Hmm.
Basically, think about it like you are about ready to have a nice little dinner party and you're inviting in a guest.
Hmm.
And it is the great guest. You send out an invitation. You make sure your house is clean. You set the table. You have already aligned stuff to make sure that it is safe and sacred. They come through the door and talk with you. Then you say thank you and goodbye, and they leave, and then you take time to clean up. I think that's the best way,
Yeah.
irregardless of what level you're doing it. Think of yourself as I'm inviting in a guest.
You're the house.
I am the house. Yes,
Yeah.
I am the
I,
host.
yeah, I'm the vessel, I'm the house. I like
Yep.
that.
What would you say about
Well, I
experience?
love all of that. And I will say for people watching and listening, in Divergent Witchcraft, I have a modern take on drawing down the moon. And drawing down the moon is this kind of concept of inviting the moon goddess energy into your body, your being, regardless of your gender, and allowing yourself to be a channel for that energy and then doing works of magic from there. So, for people who want to try that I really lay out the parameters in the book. And working with the moon energy is very like expansive, very safe. It's a good place to start because everybody can see the moon, connect with the moon. And it's not working with a specific ascended master, deity, angel, saint, whatever you want, whoever you want to invite in. So I feel like that's a really good. I like the word vessel. I like the word house. Um, I also like how you talked about the radio dial. So I studied with Kyle Gray. That's how I learned to channel. And he talks about like envisioning like a little radio dial in the back of your head. You're turning it to angels, angel radio, and then you turn it back when you're done. And I think that's what you're talking about is having these parameters, boundaries and ritual. Open the space, close the space. Like you don't just like let everybody linger because you will be exhausted, exhausted afterwards if you don't really close things up and close things down like you're supposed to.
100%. 100%.
Our mascot, Lil D, is here. Hi, Lil D.
Oh, Dia's here. What do you do with channeling? Oh, she's channeling through tuna. Why do
Yeah.
I keep seeing tuna fish? Little D, don't mind meld me. Yeah. But I do think that it's as far as how it works, I would say it's an agreement.
Yes.
Make sure that you empower yourself enough to know that you have the right to say no spiritually
Mhm.
to any type of entity or spirit that's around that you do not feel comfortable with. Just because it appears to you doesn't mean that you have to. Oh, it's an agreement, which means I will say yes. I will allow, you also will say yes, and we
Mhm.
will merge and then we will depart. So it's an agreement of sorts. And how much you allow it to come through you is also a part of that agreement. Back to what I was saying, that part of it there's a spectrum, and part of it is just like, well, I'm doing a reading and I'm starting to say, we want you to feel loved. That is a form of channeling, but then it also, so it works on all of it. If you understand, it's an agreement, protection, but also consent, your consent.
Yes, yes. And the last part is how it works. I think we kind of touched on that, but if we want to just kind of, I mean, I'm going to say that part of it is it's a great mystery. And
Yeah.
I've always made peace with great mystery. I don't care to know how everything works. I've always been like that. I don't want to know all the details. I don't want to know why we're here all the way and how we got to be here. I make peace with the mystery. So that's for me, how does it work? I think it works because you are a spirit soul being first. And then you get into a body, you come earth side, but you're always a spirit and soul being first and foremost.
Right.
And who you're channeling and connecting with, they're only in spirit. And so it's very easy from spirit to spirit to
Yes.
connect. And that's how I
Yes.
think it really works.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I would just add, if I were a spirit, I would want a human voice to be able to articulate in this realm what I'm saying. And so I agree with that. And then I want to also say, if you are curious about channeling, set sacred space,
Yeah.
protect yourself, know that it's an agreement, know that you can say no, consent, and all of those things. And then actually just breathe and allow it to happen, because it's almost like, hey, Granddaughter Crow, how do you use your eyes?
Yeah.
I would be like, I don't know, they just kind of see, but it's a phenomenon that happens.
Yeah.
How do you see that rainbow? I think that it's known that, we each have our perspective and we each have our own instrument. And so we will do different things, but the fact that you're curious about it always tells me that, maybe you're a channeler then, that's what it says to me.
I agree. I agree. The person who asked this question, they're ready. They're ready to give it a try. Because if you're asking that question, that's part of it, is like the natural curiosity, the wanting to connect, to wanting to go further. And so, yeah, I agree 100%.
Curious beings, curious beings. I love it. If you would like to join this conversation, write down things below, text the show, email us. Email us at beliefbeingbeyond@gmail.com. We are here to be in community with you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. Please subscribe and share with whomever would enjoy this podcast. And please leave us a review. We really, really appreciate that. For more about Granddaughter Crow, granddaughtercrow.com. There you can learn about her classes, sessions, and all of her books. And for more about Ginny C. Bell, please visit ginnycbell.com, where you can learn about her books, her classes, and her Our Coven Community. Thank you so much for listening.